Can a fruit actually help you sleep better? Now, I know that this sounds like something you'd hear in a wellness podcast sandwiched between a collagen ad and a pitch for grounding mats. But here's the twist. This isn't internet fluff. Multiple peer-reviewed studies in healthy adults, in poor sleepers, even in elite athletes, have found that eating 2 green kiwi fruit before bed may improve sleep function, quality, and efficiency. Now, to be clear, I haven't tried this protocol for myself yet, but the science is really interesting. It's not conclusive and it's not bulletproof, but it's definitely worth exploring because if this holds up, it's one of the lowest risk interventions we've got. So in this video, we're going to look at first, what the best human studies have actually found. Next, we'll look at why kiwi fruit may help sleep from a biological standpoint. Additionally, who this might work for and who probably shouldn't bother, and how to try it yourself if you're curious without hyper expectation. Let's get into it. So we know sleep is broken for a lot of people right now. And I'm going to include myself in that mix. Just as an aside, when I was kind of thinking for this year, for 2025, what health areas I really wanted to focus on. And sleep is, something that I've neglected in the past and it's really become a big focus for me. And so we know the drill. You've got blue light and cortisol spiking at midnight and eating late and responding to an email at 11 p.m. and then scrolling doom loops. And in fact, they've done studies and what they showed is that 30% of US adults report poor sleep quality or duration. And it's not just fatigue. We're talking about increased risk for metabolic dysfunction, cognitive decline, and even all-cause mortality. And we've responded with everything. So you've got, melatonin and CBD and magnesium and ashwagandha and tart cherry and L-theanine, Whoop bands, Oura rings, blue blocking goggles, and enough sleep hygiene to fill a textbook. And to be fair, some of these work, but a lot of them are wildly overhyped, and there's very few that have any meaningful research in actual people over time. So what does the research say? First thing, I'm going to keep this sharp. No rodent studies, no abstract mechanisms, just 3 human trials that are worth knowing about. So the first is from 2011, looking at adults with self-reported sleep problems. It was published in the Asia Pacific Journal of Clinical Nutrition. And it was a small study. They looked at 24 adults aged 20 to 55. The protocol was 2 green kiwis 1 hour before bed for 4 weeks. The outcomes? There was a 42% reduction in sleep latency, which is basically how long it takes you to fall asleep, a 13% increase in total sleep time, and a 5% improvement in sleep efficiency. Now I know, again, small sample size, and in this case, there was no control group. But they used these validated sleep questionnaires, and the results were significant enough to spark more research. This was the seed. The second study is from 2023, and they were looking at elite athletes. So this was published in Nutrients, which is a much more well-known journal. And they did the same kiwi dose and timing, 2 fruit, 1 hour before bed. And the population was elite athletes with very demanding recovery needs. The outcomes? Improved total sleep time, fewer awakenings during the night, and higher sleep efficiency overall. And what's really cool here is that elite athletes often already have really good sleep routines. If this moved the needle for them, that suggests it's not just placebo or low baseline sleepers getting all the benefit. And our last study is also from 2023. It was looking at fresh versus dried kiwi in healthy young men. This was a randomized, single-blind crossover study. What they found is that both forms of kiwi improved subjective sleep quality and mood. They also saw changes in urinary serotonin metabolites, a sign that something biochemical was shifting. This wasn't just, I think I slept better. They looked at markers tied to serotonin metabolism, which links directly to melatonin production and sleep architecture. Again, it was a small sample, but directionally it lines up. Again, to be clear, none of these are massive trials. We're not talking about a Lancet-level meta-analysis here, but they're all pointing in the same direction. And that's pretty rare in nutrition science. So how is kiwi working at a biological level to help support sleep? This is where it gets really interesting and where I think the kiwi story has legs. Let's look at the key players. So sleep isn't just melatonin. It's a concert between your brain, your gut, your hormones, and your inflammatory state. Kiwi doesn't just knock you out. It doesn't flood your melatonin or suppress your nervous system like a benzo. It's more like a conductor, nudging each section into the right rhythm so the whole thing flows better. Let's look at the likely players. So first we have serotonin support. So green kiwi contains both serotonin and tryptophan, its precursor. Tryptophan is converted to serotonin and ultimately it's converted into melatonin. That's why in that 2023 study, they showed increased urine serotonin metabolites after kiwi intake. And this matters. Serotonin isn't just a mood chemical. It modulates your sleep-wake transitions, and kiwi seems to gently support that process. Next, we have the antioxidant and anti-inflammatory activity. So kiwi is loaded with vitamin C, polyphenols, and carotenoids. These combat oxidative stress, which is increasingly linked to disrupted sleep architecture. There's also emerging data that inflammation, especially low-grade chronic inflammation, can interfere with deep sleep stages. Kiwi's antioxidant profile may help to clear that out. Next, we have micronutrient support, specifically folate and magnesium. Kiwi contains small but meaningful amounts of both magnesium and folate, and both have been tied to improved sleep quality in observational studies. And folate is especially interesting as it may help to impact neurotransmitter recycling. And lastly, the gut-brain axis and fiber content. So kiwi is a natural source of soluble fiber, and it could support microbiota diversity. And we know that gut bacteria influences neurotransmitter production and circadian signals. This one's early, but the gut-brain axis isn't just, some fringe idea anymore. The idea that kiwi could help balance the microbiome and reduce gut-driven sleep disruption, definitely worth considering. So how do you try this yourself? Again, I haven't personally tried the protocol, but I find it incredibly interesting. So if you're curious, here's what they did. It was 2 green kiwi, 1 hour before bed for 4 weeks consistently. They said to make sure you stick with green kiwi, specifically the Hayward variety. While the gold are sweeter, they contain less serotonin. And you can peel them or not, it doesn't really matter, other than the fact that eating the skin is going to give you more fiber and polyphenols. And make sure you're consistent. This is a nudge, not a knockout. And if you're dealing with more serious sleep issues, chronic insomnia or apnea, this isn't really your treatment. But as part of a whole sleep strategy, it may help. Now, I think it's important to set expectations. So you may benefit if you're a light or fragmented sleeper, or you fall asleep late even when tired, or you're looking for a non-supplemental sleep nudge. And lastly, if you're already working on sleep hygiene but just want more support. However, you probably won't notice much benefit if your sleep's already really dialed in. You're eating a high fiber, high antioxidant foods at night. And lastly, if you're dealing with untreated apnea or major stress or circadian misalignment, this probably isn't the right protocol for you. Now, this isn't melatonin, it's not Ambien, and it's definitely not magic. But it is possible, based upon the research, that some people may see real benefit. So here's the big picture. Kiwi fruit's likely not going to save your sleep. But in a world obsessed with complicated, expensive, often unproven sleep tools, here's a simple, low-risk option with multiple human studies behind it. No hype, no grogginess, just real food with real effects. I hope you found this content helpful. If so, do me a favor and go ahead and like the video. And if you want more grounded, evidence-based deep dives like this, make sure you subscribe to my channel. Thanks.